You know, if I go see a movie and I cry at the end, to me that's a good story. You have to have empathy with the characters. Whether they're happy or sad, you have to feel that emotion. Like in Ada, my new play, she is a genius mathematician. She leads a normal Victorian life. However, in the end, she's a genius that develops the first algorithm, and thus is the first computer programmer. So she dies very early at the age of 36, and that makes you very, very sad.
So what's the process of how do you get your research? With every story you tell, what are some of the steps that you take before you get to the writing?
Well, you know, it's all imagination, really. You have to feel for the story that you have been thinking about. In Ada, I did a lot of research. I had to read at least 3 or 4 books. I had to get on the internet. I had to talk to my friend who wrote a play about her father, Lord Byron. And when we got into the discussion about his daughter, Ada, we said, well, somebody should write a play about her. And that's how that happened.
And look, her father was like a great writer or poet or something like that, right?
He was a famous poet. However, he was a lord, so he also could go to Parliament and discuss the problem of the Luddites. The Luddites were weavers, and when the machine came around, the Jacquard machine, that kind of made the machine go faster than them, they revolted against the machines and broke them, and it caused a lot of confusion in London.
Ada has a lot of sympathy for a lot of social issues, and I noticed, you know, looking at the research with your play, you seem to be passionate about that. Is that something similar to you and Ada?
Well, Ada became friends with a woman, Mary Somerville, who was also a genius astronomer, and she was petitioning Parliament, one for women's rights and the other for the hours that children had to spend in the factories. So they hired children that were 9 years and above, and she wanted them to have a lunch break and shorter hours. So Ada did sign the petitions for that, both of those issues.
How can you relate to Ada?
I'm a woman, and Ada spanned 2 kinds of centuries. The Victorian age, where if you're Victorian, you're dinosaurian, and you wear a bun on top of your head, and a corset very tight, and a bustle behind you, and you sip tea to Queen Victoria. And yet she was a developer of a new kind of machine thanks to the Jacquard cards, and that made her into the industrial age. So she went both ways.
Okay. And also in the play you talk about, there's a part where you talk about the Crystal Plaza. What was your how that seemed like it's like going to be a beautiful scene. Can you just talk about?
Well, Prince Albert was the designer of the Crystal Palace, 1851, and he knew about Ada and her work with Charles Babbage. They actually developed a new machine called the analytical machine, using the process of the Jacquard cards. And also, Ada was a wonderful harpist, so Prince Albert asked her to get all the musical instruments, but it was a huge exhibition, and countries from all over the world participated. It was a major event in London.
So, what was her relationship with Charles in real life?
Well, you know, she had him as a working partner, and they worked on this new machine, the analytical machine. However, it is possible that he loved her, and even though she was married with 3 children, it was possible that he was romantically interested in her too.
So you like to write about love?
Oh, love is the prime force of the universe, I think. And in my last production of Holiday in Heaven, the girl from Earth goes to heaven to judge a harp contest. She meets someone she wants to marry. Heaven says no, and then there's a turn of events, and in the end she marries him and lives happily ever after. And then my prior play of Hedy Lamarr and frequency hopping, she had 6 husbands and she was always looking for love.